Hello and welcome to Runkle of the Bailey. My name is Ian Runkle. I'm a Canadian criminal defense and firearms lawyer. Today I'm going to talk a little bit more about brass knuckles because I got a really interesting question from a viewer. They said, hey, here's this item I found online. Would this count as brass knuckles? Now I'm not going to show you that item directly because it was on a web page that's devoted to, for the purposes of not offending YouTube, let's call them bedroom activities. And it's designed for assisting with the use of rope in scenarios that probably don't occur at, say, mountain faces or climbing walls. So it's essentially a flat metal plate with holes in it, and it looked very superficially similar to brass knuckles. However, upon looking at it, there was one obvious thing that took it out of the running, which is that they seem to be about yay big. They're bigger than somebody's head. So that wouldn't count because, of course, it's not suitable. But that took me down the rabbit hole of saying, if this exists for bedroom activities, we'll say, it probably also exists for other activities like, the aforementioned mountains and cliff faces. So I figured out what these things are called. As you can gather, I'm probably not a mountain climber type. I don't like heights, but these are apparently called rigging plates. And you can see they come in all sorts of designs. This is just a Google search, Google image search for rigging plates. And some of them are sort of very kind of brass knuckly in shape. I've got this one here, which only has 3 holes, but depending on its size, this one here has 5 holes. Some of these vary quite a bit in size, from quite substantial down to much more sort of brass knuckle-y sizes. So when we start looking at these possibilities, that raises the question of, are these banned in Canada? Are these banned items as brass knuckles? There's some other things I found that are kind of brass knuckles similar, but are kind of designed for other purposes. One of them here is this thing. So it's IASTM, or I'm not sure how people normally pronounce that particular abbreviation or acronym, but it's Instrument Assisted Soft Tissue Mobilization, which means this is for rubbing your back. It's a back or leg or whatever kind of muscle treatment thing. But you can see it's got that central hole there, and which is clearly intended for fingers. There's another design here, and this one is rock blades. And if we look at the shape here, you can see it's sort of rotating. This, again, is very clearly designed with a hand grip with a central hole for which fingers would fit in. And this is made of metal. They just note that it's made of craft or polished surgical grade stainless steel with their own branding all over it, including Ride Till You Cry. I imagine somebody might cry if they were hit with such a thing. We've also got this design, which is a little bit different, but again, still has the sort of finger hole shapes and is made of metal and would really suck if you got hit in the face with it. It's, again, noted as being for sort of muscle stimulation, and, this is something that somebody might use for a massage, not so much intended for use in breaking faces, but might do a really good job at it. So, with that in mind, we have to sort of consider, are these things banned? Because if so, our bans are probably covering more than they mean to. Now, we don't want to ban things that are just of innocent use. So let's have a look at the definition again of prohibited weapon. So prohibited weapon is the section that bans brass knuckles. And it's not under section A of the prohibited weapon definitions, because that is just for knives, and these are clearly not knives, but B, any weapon other than a firearm that is prescribed to be a prohibited weapon. Any weapon is the key bit. So none of those things are weapons inherently because they're not designed as weapons. However, something can become a weapon through use. If you swing a baseball bat at somebody, notwithstanding the fact that a baseball bat is designed for playing the game of baseball, it becomes a weapon. The same thing is true of, things like a rock you might find on the road. Rocks are not designed for use as weapons, but they can fairly easily be adapted for use the same. We can also sort of look here at the definition of brass knuckles itself in the code, because this has some interesting elements to it. So former prohibited weapons order number 8, the device known as brass knuckles, and any similar device consisting of a band of metal with one or more finger holes designed to fit over the fingers of the hand. So this has a number of portions of it. I'd previously talked about the aspect of not metal, because some things that are very similar to brass knuckles and may in fact be designed for use as weapons are made of, plastic or polycarbonate or stone or other things, and thus evade the definition of brass knuckles. These are all apparently metal items. They're either made of steel or aluminum or, other similar metals. So we can't escape that on the basis of it not being metal. Now we have a couple of different considerations here. When we look at the rock blades again, this is clearly designed to fit over the fingers of the hand. This is a hand shape. So we can't escape that. What we can conclude from this is that these rock blades, inherently, they're not a prohibited weapon. However, if you were to carry these around for use in a bar fight, or if you were to pick one of these up and swing at somebody with them, they may well transform from being an innocuous item all the way to being a prohibited weapon. So you could theoretically get in trouble for using these things even in a self-defensive situation where the use of your force is deemed to be appropriate, simply because they determine that now you've made this thing into a prohibited weapon. That's a bit of an unusual conclusion, and it kind of shows the strains in how our law is designed. Now, when we look at the other possibility, if we look at these rigging plates, and again, lots of these rigging plates are designed in either shapes that are very much unsuitable for use as a weapon. Some of them are, round or other weird shapes, but some of them seem very kind of brass knuckle shape. And assuming that some of those are a suitable size for use as a weapon, we run into the further sort of consideration here of when we look at the prohibited weapons order, one or more finger holes designed to fit over the fingers of the hand. These are not designed to fit over the fingers of the hand, depending on the size. And of course, I imagine these things come in different sizes for different thicknesses of rope, different purposes involved. But regardless, they're designed for rope to pass through them. They're not, or, a carabiner. Some of the pictures here have, other sort of applications in that sense, but they're not designed to be finger holes. They're not designed to fit over the fingers of a hand, even though they might otherwise kind of seem like they'd work in that capacity. So we have to consider that sort of possibility on that, is that these things may well be legal, even if they end up being pressed into use as a weapon at the time. Now, of course, there's all sorts of laws that govern how people can carry weapons, which is usually not. Most carrying of weapons are determined to be for purposes dangerous to the public peace. Carrying concealed weapons. So once you're planning to use this for a defensive or offensive purpose, it becomes much more difficult to legally carry it around. Anyway, these are kind of neat things. Somebody sent me a question that I kind of thought would be maybe not such an interesting question. And then when I dug into it, I went, there's actually some fun ideas here to play around with. This would make, for instance, a really good exam question. Another thing to consider is that if these are activities that interest you, whether with respect to mountain climbing or otherwise, you may want to order from companies that are located within Canada or from retail establishments within Canada, so that they've already gone through the hassle of importing these things and not you, because if they're going to get held up at the border, you probably want that hassle to be dealt with by some major company and not you personally. So just a thought, border guards aren't necessarily experts in everything. And so if they see something that looks like brass knuckles, they may leap to the wrong conclusion. They may not be experts in, muscle massage or rock climbing or other activities. Just a thought there. Anyway, thank you for watching. This is a bit of an interesting one. Right now I'm going through a somewhat longer case to make another video, and that's a fun one. That's the case of Smith & Wesson and their lawsuit. So I say fun in the sense of it's got a bunch of interesting legal issues, but it also raises some really concerning aspects in terms of what the firearm market might look like in Canada if this case goes the wrong way. So that one will be a fun one, but it's a bit of a longer case, so that'll take me a little bit of time to get done. Anyway, thank you for watching. I hope this has been helpful. Please like this video. Please share it with your friends. Subscribe to see more content. I also want to thank my Patreon subscribers at the $50 level: Sir Daniel Wicks of Alberta, Jason Elliott, D-Mo, Canada's National Firearms Association, North Central Process Service, Kyle Martin, Jean-Guy Toussaint, as well as the Canadian Shooting Sports Association. At the $30 level, Sights and Arms Limited, and at the $20 level, Dale Nesbitt, Cameron Johnson, and Andrew Elsich, as well as a number of you at the $10 level who will be in the crawl immediately following. Thank you for watching. I hope this has armed you with knowledge, and see you next time. As I said, I'm working on something that I think is a really important case, so hopefully I'll have that out soon. Bye for now.